Hello, everybody. Psychic Soul Senses here. So, I want to talk about. I'm going to be nice in this video because this is the one that got me sanctioned for a week. But I got a couple of videos I'm putting out today. And this one is the explanation of our DNA and how it was originally supposed to be created as an angelic human. Okay, but then we were hijacked by the fallen, it's the fallen angels, but it's the Anunnaki. It was the Anunnaki, or the Draconians. But we'll get into some of that. And so remember, I like to always say, leave your beliefs at the door, because this gets into some pretty different stuff that you're not used to. Now, on that note, I always talk about how we are manipulated and we are mind controlled and that they want to keep us dumbed down. I had one person sit there and you're always talking about, like they were offended, you're always talking about how we're dumbed down, blah, 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 blah. We are. They try to deliberately dumb us down. One of the programs that they use are politics. Did you know when I said that our church was the basis of politics and laws? Well, that's because you answered to the church back in the day for your illegal activity. If you broke the law, you answered to the church. We didn't have government. Okay, so not like we have now. Not cops. Tyrants, as I like to call them. They just do so many things to try to, even our basic education system is to dumb us down, to keep us in a box, to teach us to not think for ourselves. You know, you don't want a society of free thinkers if you're a tyrant. And if you look on the news, that's what we have. I mean, look, Biden's up there talking about how he's pro, my body is my body. But at the same time, he's saying he wants to get everyone to get the jab. That's not your body, your choice. I mean, I know it's two different programs that they are talking about, and that's what it is, two different programs. But basically, it's the same thing. If we're out saying we have the right to abort children, it's our body, we have the right to decide what goes in our body. It's our body. It blew my mind last year that people would be like, with their diaper on their face, get that thing. You're killing me. No. You're killing you. They pumped the fear in that television so that you would be afraid and your immune system would drop automatically by 15%. Because when you are afraid of something, your immune system drops. That's how come under high periods of stress, you get sick, you get colds, things happen, you could get cancer. It's just the way it goes. Disease is dis-ease. So anyways, I talk a lot about how we are energy and that we have our DNA energy and our RNA energy, and they spin together in opposites, which makes the other one work, okay? they want to use DNA to go quantum. I mean, you heard them talking about, maybe some of you heard them talking about, the DNA computer where you can save so much information on a DNA hard drive. But you can also save more information on a crystal hard drive. Just a little piece of crystal you could save the same amount on. And when you start going into the quantum, I believe you start understanding more of the crystal energy as well, because it's quantum energy. Each stone has its own frequency, which in turn matches you, a different vortex in your body, and it matches a different energy vortex on the earth and above. So anyways, so that being said, let's go to, let me see which one I want to talk about first, because I might just shorten this into a couple of videos. I notice I get further with the shorter videos. I actually can go live now on my phone too. And next time, I mean, the first live I was nervous. So I just talked to Wrights On, which is cool. He's cool. Very, very cool. But, you know, and I was just playing around, so I wasn't trying to be on any topic. But next time I decide to do a live, I will put notice and I'll come up with something catchy and cool that you will be interested in listening to. And I also want to say that was cool what just flashed by my head. I don't know what that was, but that was cool. I see stuff out here all the time. I got my night vision camera working, and I'm going to start recording some cool stuff. We just had the full moon, and energy is awesome during the full moon. Like, I can record all kinds of energy. And my grandchildren, my granddaughters, they've caught all kinds of cool stuff out here around me. And, like, I guess where they're younger, they can see it, where I can't. And they'll be like, oh my God, Mimi, there's something there. You know, and I'm like looking past it. But I can see energy. I can see the swirls of energy and the orbs. And of course, on the night vision camera, I catch all kinds of stuff. But so, I think this video will be about the Science Daily article, or Project qbark. Project qbark. We'll go to Project qbark. So, Project qbark is the CIA's manual on interrogation. The thing is, it talks about creating a secret government or a shadow government that they can do nefarious things under, and then, or shadow military. It's shadow military. Same thing. But what they do is they talk about the interrogations, and they use these techniques overseas, you know, and legitimize it because all so-and-so's a terrorist. But the thing is, they can claim anybody's a terrorist, right? You know, they're starting to get it to where you and I would be a terrorist if, say, I said I like Trump better than Biden, I could be a terrorist. Or vice versa. Which really everybody seems to be for Biden these days. Whatever. I don't really like politics. However, I know right now this is how things are. Yeah. So I'm not trying to tell people not to vote, because, maybe you should. I just see that it's not getting us anywhere. So, I don't know what the answer is, really, so the Project qbark talks about, there's no mention of democracy. There's no mention of rights. It talks about tricking society. It talks about psychological operations and guerrilla warfare. So the U.S. Army and CIA interrogation manuals are 7 controversial military training manuals which were declassified by the Pentagon in 1996 and in 1997. 2 additional CIA manuals were declassified in response to a Freedom of Information Act request filed by the Baltimore Sun. The manuals in question have been referred to by various media sources as torture manuals. Army manuals. These manuals were prepared by the U.S. military and used between 1987 and 1991 for intelligence training courses at the U.S. Army School of Americas. Some of the material was similar to the older CIA manuals described below. The manuals were also distributed by Special Forces mobile training teams to military personnel in intelligence schools in Colombia, Ecuador, El Salvador, and Guatemala and Peru, and Venezuela. The Pentagon press release accompanying the release stated that a 1991 to 92 investigation into the manuals concluded that 24 short passages in 6 of the manuals, which total 1,169 pages, contained material that either was not or could not be interpreted not to be consistent with U.S. policy. The Latin American Working Group criticized this. The understated aim of the manuals is to train Latin American militaries to identify and suppress anti-government movements. Throughout the 1,100 pages of the manuals, there are few mentions of democracy, human rights, or the rule of law. Instead, the manuals provide detailed techniques for infiltrating social movements, i.e., Black Lives Matter, U.S. elections, what was the other one? There's so many movements. And to create some, of course, you've got... Okay, well, let's finish. So, there's no mentions of human rights, rule of law, and democracy. Instead, the manuals provide detailed techniques for infiltrating social movements, which is what I explained, interrogating suspects, surveillance, maintaining military secrecy, recruiting and retaining spies, and controlling the population. That would be pandemic and our borders. How the same families keep crossing the border. George Soros pays them off. Or the gaslighting from our president, like I was talking about, While the excerpts released by the Pentagon are a useful and not misleading selection of the most erroneous passages, the ones most clearly advocating torture, execution, and blackmail, they do not provide adequate insight into the manual's highly objectionable framework. In the name of defending democracy, the manuals advocate profoundly undemocratic methods. After this 1992 investigation of the Department of Defense discontinued the use of the manuals, supposedly. They discontinued. Directed their recovery to the extent practicable and destroyed the copies in the field. U.S. Southern Command advised governments in Latin America that the manuals contained passages that did not represent U.S. government policy. Oh, yeah. They don't represent said policy. But we see. And pursued recovery of the manuals from the governments and some individual students. Notably, David Addington and Dick Cheney retained personal copies of the training manuals. Soon after, the U.S. Army issued FM 34-52 Intelligence Interrogation Manual, which was used until September 2006, when it was superseded by FM 2-22.3 Human Intelligence Collector Operations. We'll have to check out what some of those are. So right there, it kind of goes in with, I feel like when you look back on a few things, like, I was born in 1975, so I noticed when I was growing up on TV, they promoted a lot of separation from the parent. Like parents splitting up, and then we had a generation of parents splitting up. And it was cool. It was a cool thing. You didn't get along, you just left. You didn't resolve stuff. You didn't work stuff out. And it was almost like it's a program. Because they also hypersexualized a generation with porn. Woodward TV talks about this. I like his stuff. As a matter of fact, one of his videos he just released talks about our generation and this happening, and that it was almost like it was done on purpose so that we would be separated and be fighting. It's just one of the many programs used to separate us as a society. And I feel like that's what they do all the time. They want to keep us separated as a society and fighting each other, so that way, the less connected we are with each other, the less connected we are with God. And I'll keep saying it over and over again. The God they put in church is not, it's not what we're supposed to be. No. God's not in the sky. God's in our heart. And I don't think it's a male or a female. I think it's both. I think it's a loving energy. And I felt that. One day I'll get on here and I'll tell my story from the beginning to the end. That might be one of my lives when I get bigger. I want to get bigger because I want to reach people. If you noticed, I'm not putting no pay stuff on my thing. I'm not trying to get money. I can make money. I was told to teach what I learn, not to sell it. So, anyways, I wanted to talk about that. And, you know, we have MK Ultra. One of the meditations I learned, which is another thing I'd like to talk about on this video, and I'll do a bigger video on it later. But one of the things in MK Ultra is them teaching agents, CIA agents and government agents, how to astro project. I thought that stuff wasn't real, but I thought that stuff was fake. Well, how come there's a whole series called the Monroe tapes that shows you how to do this? We need to wake up, guys. I'm going to call this video mass mind control and manipulation. I'll do a video on the Monroe tapes. There's an article I want to read that's going to be a separate video too, and it's about our DNA and how they're using our DNA or a DNA-based program to try to go quantum. I said 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I got the information from my husband when he passed that we were going quantum, but something come through and it was like, oh, they can use us, our energy and our DNA to go quantum. Why? Now they're doing it. They're trying to do it. I'll read the article and we'll talk about it. So anyways, I wanted to just get this video out there and communicate to you guys. I'm going to hop off here and smoke a joint. And I'm glad to be back, guys. I hope you all have a good day, and I hope this video was a little bit informative.